I'd like to go ahead and call the November 4th, 2020 work studies session meeting to order at 6:38 p.m. being held at the Jerry Roby District Facility. Members present are myself, Mark Aguirre, Suzanne McAvoy, Jamie Miller. Governing board members absent are Ms. Yolanda Lopez Bearden and Ms. Kathy McNamara. Jamie, if you could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 2.1, work study session. So, we'll just go ahead and, I guess, get into it and kind of start going over everything. Dr. Schaff, do you have anything that you want to point out at all as we're moving along?
No, I think it's just an opportunity to discuss informally, so without the need for the protocols at this point for a study session. And if you want to go point by point to facilitate us through, or to ask people what highlighted areas. So I think there's any way you want to do it works really well. It's really just a discussion that we can learn from today.
Yeah. How would you guys like to go through this? I mean, I wish, it's unfortunate that not all of us are here, because when I was looking at some of them, I wasn't, I kind of was wanting to hear the different perspectives of if somebody was a no, or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or some, I saw a couple with yous of maybe somebody didn't understand the question, maybe to go over. Do you guys have any type of preference? Do you want to go through each one, or do you want me to read each one and then we can
I don't really have a preference.
Yeah, no preference. I think maybe just touch on each one if we have to discuss it.
Or just move, yeah.
And if there's no discussion, then just move.
Move on, it's fine.
That's it.
Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and we'll start with the very first one. Board relationship with superintendent. Question 1. The board imparts information on issues, needs, and complaints in a manner allowing the superintendent the opportunity to solve related problems in a professional manner. 4 of us were yes.
Yeah.
1 of us was no.
I don't think with the N.
Yeah, I don't have anything to discuss on that one.
Okay.
And nor do I have any concern. So.
Okay. Item number 2, the board clearly interprets its position on controversial matters pertaining to the district, thereby enabling the superintendent to properly carry out the wishes of the board. And that was a 3-2 split on that one.
And I may have given this one and for myself, and I think that was a reflection of myself and just wanting to improve more. Sometimes I feel like I don't accurately say what I want to say.
Yeah.
No matter how many times, even prior, I can put it in different ways. So more of a personal improvement, I guess.
Well, I think that all of us can be guilty of that it makes sense to us, but maybe Dr. Schaff, it's not clear. And I think there's been a couple board meetings that you'll recognize that she'll make a statement of, so I just want to be clear. You know what I mean?
That's appreciated.
So,
Well, I even think when we start talking sometimes, I'll watch back and I'll be like, I lost my point. You know what I mean? You were trying to make that point. So, I do appreciate when she makes those, just so I'm clear, because, yeah, I was heading in one direction. I meant that direction, but somewhere along the communication lines, it wasn't. And I also took that as, to like also, I'll look back at a motion and then, the next day I still will seek clarification from Dr. Sheff that I am interpreting it correctly, so I'm not, when questioned about it, I'm not giving the public a different viewpoint than what it was interpreted by the board.
Dr. Schaaf, did you have anything?
Well, I mean, given that sometimes you as a board member were unclear afterwards, makes me think, that that's something we could watch for, is to say, is it really clear? Was the motion clear enough? I think when it's just followed whatever motion's on there, that's easy. It's pretty
It's when
clear to
we
everybody.
start
It's kind of when we
changing.
go off and go, oh, together we've come up with a better, so a different solution. And then I think just taking the time on whatever board action that was, before maybe going right into voting on it, just to make sure that that it is really clear. It was clear enough in the way it was stated, and that's something I could watch for. I noticed I was trying to script it so I could read it back to myself because we're all listening, and then I thought, okay, this is what we're gonna have to live by afterwards. So I think that's a point of context for me as well, to help all together with it.
Yeah, I notice sometimes like we'll start to read it and then we'll say, is that okay? And then it's okay, and then we go back and like reread the rest, but then it's where I think sometimes it's a little bit lost and choppy. And then when we go back and read it in the notes, I'm not necessarily sure. Like some of them, I just feel like they could have been clarified a little bit. But
Yeah, I think everybody's doing their best, and
Yeah,
it's hard,
right.
and it's hard in those moments.
right, when we read it off here sometimes, or like you think what you've heard everybody say, and then you try to put it into your own words. That's why sometimes I do say, am I saying this right? Because I don't.
Yeah, making the motions, like kind of in this, for this question, for generality, those are kind of the easier ones, but when we're really trying to get specific on certain things, that's where it'll really start to get hard. And that's something that I've tried to offer different ways of saying it. Of if the administration truly needs something kind of specific and narrow, that way there is no so that there is no questions about the action that's going to be taken on that particular item, that's where you'll hear me say, so moved. That way nothing gets missed and nothing can be taken out of content, and that the administration's truly getting exactly what they know they need to be able to take that action on. So.
And I just want to clarify, it is appropriate for, because we still sort of are somewhat new, it's still appropriate for us to ask, like Dr. Sheff, like, is this the correct wording
Yes.
of the board, and to get feedback? That is still complete.
Yep,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay, I just
Yep.
want to, okay.
And then I think it's the intelligent thing to do also, because we as a board, we are wanting her to do our will, and it's her job, her and her team's job, to take our will, and she's going to go do it.
Put it into, yeah.
You know what I mean? She'll have her way of doing it, and that's where, if she's wanting something specific, that's so that she can do it her way, that we've hired her to do, if that makes sense. So, number 3, the board disregards personalities and considers the recommendations of the superintendent in an unbiased and objective manner. And that one was a 3-2. For me, I think that I feel that we do that as a board, for me.
Yeah, I do too.
I do too. But
So, Dr. Schaaf, did you have anything?
No, I think that there are times when, you know, all 6 of us are not in complete alignment, but I feel like you all have listened to at least the information that I put forward and maybe the rationale for that. And I feel like that's, in my impression, it's always been fully considered. And if, you know, you have more information or still a different direction you still like to go, I respect that, and I'm comfortable with that. I really value the fact that that you are listening to what those perspectives are, and I don't expect you to agree with every motion or, you know, action that I brought forward for the administrative team. So personally, on that level, I am comfortable with that.
Item number 4, the board communicates views of personal effectiveness, including views related to the superintendent, in a confidential and professional manner. I don't know that none of us have not done this, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Dr. Schaff, do you have any insight? By the way, for public, this was a 4-to-1. So I'm not sure if you had any insight, Dr. Schaff.
No, and I can only think of one situation that I talked with a board member directly about, and that was resolved, and it's not a continuing issue in any way. So I would say I'm fine with that.
This one is a new area. B, board relationship with the community. The board recognizes that the citizens have entrusted them with the educational development of the children and youth in this community, sorry. And that was 4 of us that answered yes. I have,
Yeah.
I think that one stands for itself.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if we didn't.
The board recognizes that the community expects their first and greatest concern to be in the best interest of each and every one of the young people without distinction as to who they are or what their background may be. And that one was also 100% yes. I think, let's see, I think this board is very diverse as far as where we live and where our own children go to school in the district. So I think we see that we're aware of the different struggles that the families have within the district, because what's struggles on the south side of the river are completely different than the struggles on the north side of the river, you know, and vice versa, east and west throughout the district. But I think as a board, we definitely have everyone's best interest. So, I mean, anyone else have any thoughts?
No.
I think this is definitely agreeing with you that the greatest concern, the best interest of all. I have felt and believed that of all of our board members and, you know, us administratively. I think, you know, what it doesn't ask is, you know, how well do we actually unearth and get that perspective and make sure we're completely aware of that. I think that's where we could always do better. So I think that's one of the great benefits of having diverse board members on there, to make sure those other views get heard. And so I think that's something we'll have to keep challenging ourselves on going forward.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely a challenge now, not being able to like visit a school or meet people more face to face and those kinds of things. I think once hopefully this all passes, we can, you know, get onto some of the campuses or be at some of the community events to like get a better understanding, you know, of some of the situations outside of our own communities. So.
Number 3, the board enacts policies supporting the efforts of the administration in helping the people of this community to have the facts about their schools to the end that they will readily provide the finest possible school program, school staff, and school facilities. I don't know that we can get any better at this one particular item. I have a child in another district, and I can tell you I don't get even close to half the information that our district sends out. And the one thing that I do like in this particular topic is the information that I get. It's not too much and it's not too little. Like it's not overwhelming to where you just become mind numb. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. I mean, you guys have any feelings on this?
I agree with you. I appreciate the transparency also from administration here in the district compared to other districts that I've just seen, especially with the recent events that we've had. There's a lot of stuff that's not so transparent elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Dr. Schaff, anything?
No, thank you.
Relationships between members during meetings. Individual members of the board treat other members of the board and professional staff with respect during board meetings. So this is a 2-3 split. I was a yes on this. I don't know if this is kind of one of them uncomfortable things, but I think it's healthy to talk about. That as board members, when hot topics, very contentious topics have come up, I think as a young board we've been tested, especially this year, right? And for me, I don't ever take anything personal that anyone says, no matter what, because I know that we're human, we get passionate about things and we try and control our passion, but that sometimes it comes out not the way that we intended it. So, you guys' thoughts?
I mean, as far as myself, I hope that I have been respectful. I don't feel that I have ever been disrespected by anybody. I mean, but I've obviously been in a room when it's gotten passionate. So I couldn't deny that we have passionate board members. And I'm passionate too. I think it's funneled a different way. But again, like I said, I hope that I'm respected. Other board members. I don't recall which one I marked on here either. But
It's been a while.
probably the middle one, yeah.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I marked either. I think I went back and forth on it a little bit, because I do think that there were some meetings that we had and then that got heated, and then after a vote, I feel like some people checked out of the rest of the meeting, and that was a little bit concerning to me, but then, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know how others perceive me either, so I don't want to necessarily, but I don't know, I do think it's maybe one area that we could work on a little bit. I'm not really sure
I think
how you work on that, or if that's just a...
no, absolutely. I mean, there's always ways to work
Well,
on
I know,
things.
I mean, but I think it's more of a, I'm not sure if there's something we can do as a group dynamic, or, a personal dynamic, or possibly after. Well, and I think that we did the one time, like we took a break afterwards and regrouped, and I definitely think that helped in that situation.
I think that's an interesting question is, does the board have a strategy when other board members can see one or two board members, I'll call it escalating, or becoming more aggressive or assertive, passionate, hostile, critical? I mean, you can have a nice word for it, and you can have a harsher word for it. It's all the way in between, because people's intentions, I really believe, are always and have been in the best interest. I think, if you say what's the intent, was actually always a good intent, and then how it came across and the emotions that come with it, that's harder. So, is there something that as a board, we could agree to is, it's not necessarily a signal, or, if it was my husband, I might be tapping him under the table to kind of, simmer down. But is there something we can do? I think you're taking a break was a good strategy that someone could recommend, not necessarily just the board president. Is there something else, even just a reminder of, say, can we take a step back here for a minute, hear from somebody else, and we'll come back to you after you've had a chance to, collect your thoughts. And I don't know how well any one of us would take that in the moment either.
Right. I mean, and I also think just speaking on the topic and not to what the other person said, because then I feel like it sort of feels personal. Does that make sense? Like addressing the topic, not addressing the person. I can tell you, I don't appreciate when it's like, well, Suzanne, this is what, and just sticking to, like, say it once, say it well, and say it to the topic. But
when there was a little card when I was teaching, and it was actually really helpful to deal with for classroom management. It was 4 steps, and it was, when a student disrupts, ask them a series of 4 questions, and it was kind of a protocol, like, are you aware of what you're doing? Is this acceptable behavior? And I forget the other 2, it's been a while, but it was very effective, and I sort of use that with my kids at home too, like, are you aware of what you're doing? But something like that, sort of getting at the root of it, and kind of like what you said is, have you said what you're gonna, and I don't know, I haven't really formed a full thought, but something along those lines where, have you said what you meant to say? And then I don't think you need to repeat it if it's clear, maybe asking that question of, maybe I wasn't, like, pretending I'm in a meeting and I say, maybe I wasn't clear the way I said what I want to say. And then once you've said it, you've said your piece, we need to move forward, and having breaks, and just like you said, strategies too. I think those are great remedies to,
I think part of this can also be when we're having a presentation given to us and we don't necessarily agree with that presentation, that again, sometimes we'll let our passion get the best of us, and we won't realize that our voices are coming up in volume, and we just it's just kind of, everything just kind of comes out. I think at any moment that a board member sees something starting to get out of hand, if a cue, if you will, or kind of a check on that, might simply be making a motion for a 2 to 3 5-minute break, and that'll immediately disengage it.
sometimes it just triggers the brain too. I mean, that's what we say for kids, right? Just get them onto something else, so it triggers the brain to just sort of calm back down a little bit. But on the flip side, I do want to say I do appreciate how you call on each of us, so we do get an ample opportunity to share our opinion, and it's not just like, I've seen it, where it's just a free-for-all, and like there's that one person that has, that they've got a good thought, but they're not going to get their way in there. So I really do appreciate the way that, that we do share. I think that it is, effective.
one idea that I have, and I think it's great for team building. I don't know if you've heard of it, True Colors. And it's personality, it's a quick personality assessment, but it's really helped me to work with people that I've gone through it with. And for example, like there's 4 colors. I'm typically a green, which is more of a introvert, and kind of like to listen, and then you have oranges who like to jump out and be very vocal, and sometimes their mouth goes quicker than their mind. And then you have yellows, and they're very by the book, don't want to stray from rules at all, and it really irritates them. And you have blues who are really like the mediator. They just want everyone to harmony with everyone. But since I've done that with some other groups, and it's been really good to, when I know that maybe this person's a gold, I know that sometimes why, not that I don't know what nameplate's over there, I'm just saying. Maybe if there was a rule that was broken, or just something out of order, it's really going to irritate them, and they could already be a little bit tense because of that. And so sometimes that's like a cause for their behavior. But just understanding the personality traits in people is I have found really helpful to understand. Also how to respond to that behavior when they're I don't know if it's upset necessarily, but just throwing that out there. I talked a little bit about it, with the new board coming on, possibly doing that as a team building exercise.
So here you're saying if we could have some team building, that could also be a way to help us to understand people better and build some of that mutual respect that could carry over into the board meetings as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
I'll make a note of that for next time we have a retreat.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that sounds like perfect for like a retreat, like when we have hopefully we can have a normal one.
Differences of opinion influencing board members' votes are based on the issues at hand and not on personality basis. I was an S on this.
Yeah, so was I.
I don't think any of that
Yeah.
goes on. I really don't.
Yeah.
We've heard the horror stories and seen some of them, maybe on the news or something, but I don't think any of that takes place here. Dr. Schaff, you? Anything?
No, I think if you were seeing this, you would see a lot more block voting on the board, and, just always, same people always voting however Jamie voted, or something like that. And I see you all really voting from the heart and conscience and integrity of what you think is the right thing to do. So I don't see that either.
All members of the board conduct themselves in such a manner as to emphasize that individual board members have authority only when convened in a legally conducted board meeting with at least a quorum present. I was actually an N on this one. I was one of the N's.
I think I was an S. I don't think I've come across.
Suzanne,
Yeah, I don't
do you
know.
remember?
Yeah, I think I was an S.
Okay. So I put this, I put as an N on here only because I think intentions are good, but when we go out on our own as an individual, that the board doesn't look like a team, as one cohesive unit sending the same message. In other words, the will of the board is not being communicated. To me, it's more of a individual, and that's why I always try and stay away from social media. If we're gonna as an example, I guess you could call what we did was as a town hall, if you will, when we went to the different schools to explain, you know, for Dr. Schuff to kind of explain everything that it's always tried to do. You know, one unit moving forward. We may not always agree with each other on how we get there, but we all want to get to the same place. And I just didn't know that we stick to this all the time. You know what I mean? So, Dr. Schaaf.
I think I hear you saying how we communicate back out to the public. Do we communicate as individual board members on district-related or board-related items? Are we conveying that common board messages? This is what we came to an agreement with in a meeting, and that gets communicated back out in that way versus individuals. And I think I can see that. And I think this other piece here in this item also speaks to have authority only when convening a legally conducted board meeting with at least a quorum present. So I think that, you know, from maybe that part of it, you know, maybe actually stronger, but I think you bring up an important position, especially when we have difficult, you know, decisions where we really are of, you know, I think there's lots of things that happened more recently that we've all kind of compromised on what actually came out of this room, but we still have to support it in going back out. How do I have to support it, and how do you all have to support it going back out? So I think that's a good reminder for us all.
I sort of didn't take that question that way, so that's good to hear your, because you know, when I heard, like through the part that said with at least a quorum present, I thought, like, I don't know, I just interpreted it like our two of us like getting together like on our own to discuss, and I don't see any of that happening, so that's where I was like, no. Well,
And I would say I
was satisfied that we don't, you know, that I didn't see any of that, so that's where I took that, but I can see both of your.
And I don't, you know, I don't see board members, you know, showing up at schools and acting as if they are, you know, the board when they're just an individual coming to an event. You know, I haven't seen that, but then principals haven't reported that to me. So yes to what you're saying, no to this, the finer point of this.
Item D, board relationships with staff and personnel. Board requires the superintendent to recommend personnel for their consideration and consistently adheres to this procedure. For me, there's no questions there. Board members make every effort to become acquainted with the personnel of the district. I think I know why some of these were either an N or a U, but did you guys have anything on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I put an S. I mean, obviously, Jamie and I haven't been out to a ton of schools or any events, but there haven't been, you know, been any really besides, you know, the Liberty groundbreaking that we were out to really, to be engaged with some of the school personnel. So, but I mean, I feel like we've made the attempts when the opportunities were there for sure. But.
Yeah, I just figured that there was either an N or a U just simply because I haven't actually had the opportunity to necessarily, well,
and I
to
may
do
have
that
put
really.
N or U. I don't think I put U, but yeah, I think I just kind of want to leave everybody alone too. Since spring, just let you guys all work and be out of your hair.
Well, we can make an effort for, you know, some things where we can, maybe one at a time, or, you know, some things that going into see a couple of schools, or and certainly the events when they start back up again,
right,
and how we're
I have
communicating
no doubt.
about that.
Right,
So
yeah.
we can make a note of working on that, and I'm also appreciative of this time period right now. You know, if I took you into 2 schools, then that's, wow, a lot of people we just exposed you to, and also, you know, the campuses as well. So we just try to be careful.
Yeah, I don't think that we need to go to anything right now. I was just saying I thought it was satisfactory to like what we have available to us. I mean, I sort of think it would be a little irresponsible for, you know, we want to try to keep those kids in school and the exposure and everything down. So.
The Board members' personal friendship with district personnel are maintained without allowing them to affect overall board decisions and/or policies. I had no issue with this.
Same here, I don't experience it or see it.
Okay. Board relationship to the instructional program. Board makes an effort to keep informed about the instructional program by providing for periodic reports as deemed necessary and by periodic visitation in schools. I think,
Sort of goes along with that other one, right? I mean,
well, I think some of the reports that we've gotten take care of this, even though we're not able to actually go
absolutely.
see the work being done per se. We're being told about the work and seeing the statistics on the work itself. So. The board attempts to gain information from the community pertaining to instructional program needs.
I was fine with this. I'm
Same here.
very pleased with all the surveys that went out in the past, 6+ months.
Yeah, and the reports that we get, I feel like we're well informed.
Dr. Schaaf, anything on this one in particular? This would kind of be your wheelhouse as far as.
Sure. I think we've had a lot of focus on really probably maybe more of the operational side in the last 6 months for what we've elicited from the community. So, well, someone, put an in here for one, I can take that as just an opportunity that, that's something else we can gather information, directly from parents about instruction. We do that at our annual parent survey, or people who participate maybe in a particular program, I think that could actually be insightful for the board and an administration about some program specifics. So I see that as an opportunity for us to do better.
Okay. The board maintains policies necessary to enable the educational staff to develop the educational program required to meet the needs of the community. Seeing as we basically just got done going through all our policies.
There are a few left that we
There
haven't
are
got to.
some,
We've taken a little pause, but
Yes.
Particularly on the educational side, we really upped our game there. So
Right.
I would agree with your five vote there.
Board relationship to the financial management of the schools. The board establishes the policy and provides the necessary resources to properly manage the finances of the district. For me, I put yes. I think all board members would put yes. I wonder if Dr. Schaaf and Kelly might have a different opinion on that, but.
No, I think the policies are absolutely there, and the resources aren't, the resources don't directly come from the board. We're still subject to whatever state and federal resources we're given. So I don't think you are getting in the way of that. And I believe that you, as a board, have listened carefully to, say, a budget committee and their perspectives, and we've really worked hard to try to be inclusive of other perspectives too, to bring that to you. And while the decisions made here may not have reflected 100% what the budget committee had worked on for 5 or 6 weeks, but at the same time, it still was really utilizing that information, and you brought an additional perspective that they actually didn't have. So I feel like it was always a really good outcome from it, and so I would agree with the board's estimation of this.
The board requires the proper accountability for the expenditure of funds in the district. I had no issues with this.
Yeah, same.
Actually, when the audit was done, I was on my way to work, and I was actually surprised that the gentleman called me when he did. He asked when the best time to call was, and I told him 3:45 in the morning. He called me on the way to work and said that, was raving about how good of a job we do as far as accountability on this. Just the accountability part of it. He thought we did a very good job, so. But that's why I didn't have any issues with this, so. The board provides justified funding to maintain a high-quality educational program in this district. All of us put yes. I think we all recognize, like Dr. Schuff said, we put as much in there as what they give us. That's what it comes down to. The board keeps the community informed about the financial needs of the district. So there was one U on here. Well, first, your guys' thoughts.
I think that Kelly does a really good job during her, Ms. Basinger, during our board report, and I feel like it's really transparent. It's there for everyone to go and see the presentations on the computer, or I should say, on the website, the district website. I feel like they've done a good job of communicating what we're going to need the money for when, like, it came to like the override and things. I feel like it was really specific on what the money needed to be for. I don't know. I feel like this district is very transparent compared to others I've seen. That the information is pretty readily available for you to just click and find. But.
Jamie, anything?
I'm trying to remember if I put you or not, and I think, because I'm thinking right now as I'm reading it, what that means, keeping the community informed, because like what you're saying, informed, it's public information, but I'm just thinking in my mind, is keeping the community informed about the financial needs, like the importance of that bond override, for example, like. And I think that was actually brought up in a previous board meeting where there was verbiage, and I don't know if I gave it a you or not. I'm just, now that we're looking at it again, and I think our hands were sort of tied with how we're allowed to tell the public the importance of it. We can't really market, we can't really,
We can tell facts, but we can't say it's important that you vote yes.
Right. And so that's why I'm trying to think. I don't think I gave a you for that, but yeah, I guess I'm just talking at this point. It's unfortunate that that's the situation, but it is, and it's irrelevant to this now that you clarified that for me.
I would say, given that we didn't pass the election, I don't know that I could justifiably put a yes here, because if they had the story, a logical person would come to the conclusion that there's a need here. So I feel like there's still a better, what is the opportunity? I'm not sure what the solution is, but I feel like this may still be something we particularly will need to address this next year.
So I put a yes, and we filled this out approximately 30 or 45 days ago, I believe. Knowing tonight what I know now versus last night, in my opinion, I don't know that we actually did this.
And I know we'll talk about it in our.
No, and we're going to.
We're going
right?
to talk about it, but I do think there is a demographic of our community that we are talking to, which are parents and I don't know that we have found the avenue to talk to the broader community. So I think that's the opportunity for growth for us, if I was answering this question.
Yeah, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get off, go off on the tangent, you know.
You're doing well.
And I just took it as like
I'll do that at the
yeah,
next
the
meeting, I
chances that
promise.
we have,
But,
because it's difficult. We don't have,
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, everyone knows what I'm saying without saying it. And there's going to be more on this particular topic, hopefully very, very soon. So,
because we can only speak to an agenda item or a presentation, so it
yeah.
gets a little.
Well, and about just the general financial needs of the district, I think you pointed to several things where somebody can pull the information. They have the ability, where you said we're transparent. I would agree with both of those things. So what I'm wondering about is where have we pushed the information where it made it easy for somebody to grab hold of because we pushed it out to them? And what is the way of that? What is the expense of that? Is that worth it? All I say is I don't know what the solutions are here. I just know that it's something that we should problem solve around.
Yeah. So, general statements. List in order of priority 4 challenges the board faces. And here's the different responses. Actually, with this one, do you guys want to pick your response? And
I can pick, what was mine? Oh, reopening schools, passing the override funding from the school facilities board, and planning for growth without adequate funding. But you know, obviously some of those have changed. The other one that I would maybe add is just to maybe be a little bit clearer on our norms, and especially during this time of when there was so much going on with COVID and reopening and closing, and just making sure that we are making the best use out of admin and staff time. One of the things that I had been thinking about was when we did the summer retreat, we talked about, like, if you wanted to put something on the agenda, and that and I know because of past experiences, people really wanted to see, like, well, if one person wants it on the agenda, it should be on the agenda. And now with everything that is on the agenda, and how much we've talked about school opening and closing, I am just wondering if it should be more of like at least two people wanting to see something for it to actually be an agenda item. And I mean, you sort of do that already. When you asked us, like, if we wanted to, you know, I'm using this as an example, I hope I'm allowed to and not talking, but you know, when you asked if we wanted to review the benchmarks, I mean, you made sure that you had majority before you put it on there. But I just think that might be a protocol or a norm that we want to think about doing.
so your priority would be board norms for agenda items?
Possibly. Because
Okay.
even, I'll be honest, so the one agenda item I asked to put on, I sort of wanted to I kept saying, like, no, there's other things that are more important, and I didn't necessarily mean for, like, that advocacy to be an agenda item. It was something I eventually wanted us to talk about. I don't want to waste our time necessarily with that when that can wait. So, and I don't want things that we also, I am concerned as we move on, that sometimes there are things that we vote on, and I think that it should be someone that has changed their mind because of new information that they were given, that we bring it back up to the agenda, not necessarily the same people that voted the same way. Does anybody get what I'm saying?
So we could put on a future to talk about that, like, so norms is one of your priorities.
Yeah.
And that's something we could address in a meeting and talk about what norms the board wanted to be formalized and approved.
Because I feel like this I put I think my things that I put here were more district-wide, and then I was starting to think about it a little more, and like, that's more just focused to our board.
Jamie?
I'm trying to go back and think. I know, I kind of spoke about it earlier, but justifying a position or opinion, and it kind of went back to what we were discussing about if you have a statement or position on the topic, to give your statement, give your position, and substantiate that, and then we move forward. And so just a challenge. I think we would give an opinion, and then someone would say something different, and then we would repeat it in a different way.
It's the same.
What's that?
And it's the same. We're
And
just
it's the
using.
same, and so if we go full circle, just different directions with it. So I felt like that was sort of a challenge that I know for me, just having steps sometimes in front of me helps. I think some of these, they've kind of passed since, so they're not really challenges anymore. We're living it.
So Jamie, I'm hearing you saying justifying a position, giving an opinion to kind of self-regulate as board members, that, listen to yourself. Have you made your point? Have you said your point? And then stop back so you can listen to other people?
Yeah.
And, because, I've heard some of you all say you want to expedite these meetings. You don't want them to, go on and circle around for a long time. So that also could be part of
A norm,
look back to your norms, and you
Mm-hmm.
could, look at that as all in one piece,
Right.
as a way to move that.
And I don't want to rush anybody. I want them to be able to give their full opinion about their position. But that's why I wrote the word justifying there for them, and me especially too, because like I said earlier, I feel like sometimes I say something and I look back and I'm like, did I really explain why, clearly why I feel that way. So yeah, back to the norms.
I'll be honest on this one. I don't know which one of these were mine. Lupita, do you have that info?
I do not readily available, however.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, we did this a while ago. As I sit here today, the challenges that we face are completely different, just like you guys said, from anything on here. But what I am hearing, priorities from you guys, is we want to put board norms as something that we want to discuss. So that's duly noted. Okay. List any weaknesses you have observed in the operation of the school system.
Well, I don't know if I wrote the second one, but I agree with it. I don't know.
Oh, I think I wrote.
I feel like that for myself, clearly stating if I'm asking admin a question or requesting an item, but I don't know how admin feels about that statement.
I wrote it because I messed up with that one. I'm guilty of that one too.
Did we confuse you?
Well, given other districts that I've worked for and the volume of research this and come back with a report on that, and I don't think this board is excessive, by any stretch of what you've asked for. And I think there have been a couple of times some just, oh, that was interesting, or you're curious about something, and then you'll suggest it. And I think you have been pretty supportive of when I've come back and said, given the time we're at, or the priorities of how much we've got on the agenda, are you okay if this one pushes out for a while? And every time, you all have said yes, and certainly I would support it if you said no. So I don't, where those interests of the board show up, there haven't been that many. And I think that's a prerogative of the board to be able to do some of that. So, so far, I think, as long as we maintain that relationship where you're comfortable with me, pushing back a little bit to, ask for some leeway or clarification, so I'm not creating more work than is needed. So an example, with Mr. Miller, he asked for something. I said, you know, it could be very, very broad in this report, which would require a lot of research and background. It'll actually take us, you know, could take us a couple of months for researching programs and things like that. And he said, no, that's not what I meant by that. Great, you know, so just by me being able to clarify, that also narrows the scope. So far I feel like it's been a good balance, if you will.
For me, mine was, and maybe I read this incorrectly, I don't know, but mine was not having the proper infrastructure in place to have virtual learning be accomplished without an interpretation. And there's nothing that the school district can do for that, unfortunately. I think
It is a weakness, I will agree with you, it is a weakness.
So.
And we continue to work on it, and new needs surface, and every time we get new students move into our district, we're like, okay, we got to find yet another device, and we need another hotspot.
Well, with me, for this one, mine was actual public technology infrastructure out here in
Towers
our
and
rural
wires.
area, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, it really had nothing to do with the district per se, so. But, list any significant accomplishments made by the school system during the past year. I mean, when I looked at these, I liked all of them. Now that these are given the times.
I look at them too, and I go, man, these were some big lifts.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I say this a lot, but I just think that this district does a great job of giving families and community members multiple opportunities to voice their opinions. And I mean, I've never worked for, nor have my kids attended a school where I've gotten, and this is a good thing, like surveys and opportunities to be, you know, emails asking you to be on a committee and things like that. I've never been in a district, and I've been in 3, 4, where they really try to get parent and community involvement. A lot of times I feel like the parents are having to seek it out, the ones that want to be involved. And I feel like this district you do a great job of like reaching out to everybody and giving everybody that, you know, that chance. So, I mean, communication's great. I mean, that's my personal view, but yeah.
Jamie?
No, I agree with all these, and just I've said it before too, but I appreciate everything that everyone has done, all the late nights too, of lugging all the audio equipment to the different schools, and you know, just all the behind the scenes stuff. I can't imagine the hours that have been put in for all of this. And I'm really thankful that food, that was a huge one for me, that the kids were still able to receive food through the bus. And it's just a great collaboration between, I'm sure, just food services and transportation, and orchestrated by whoever you had in place. So those were big ones for me, and it happened. So.
Well, I will pass along the appreciation of the accomplishments for sure.
Yeah, it's one of them things, I guess, as a school board member, you just kind of assume that this is not even an issue, and it was the curriculum development. When that was brought up, you just assume the lights come on because we paid the electric bill, you know what I mean? And when that one came up, you know, and Kathy, you know, she said the same thing, and I was just like, it's just one of those things, you know, and to find out that hadn't been done, you know, that it wasn't on paper per se, just kind of a eye-opening experience, you know, and that being done along with the pandemic, you know, it was a very large, huge accomplishment. So, but so that kind of concludes. Do you guys want to add anything to the board evaluation. Any of your thoughts on it?
I mean, we're gonna have a few different people soon, so it'll
Yeah. And I think,
have different personalities.
yeah, I think what you guys had talked about, the board norms, I think that's definitely a very good idea to bring that on when the new board comes on, so that everyone's understanding about it. So, but I think overall, as a board, I think that we do exactly what we're put in this position to do. And that is, in my own opinion, is to pick our leader, our individual, and to let them bring our vision to reality, and to watch over, but not to put our thumb on the superintendent. I think that's, honestly, I think that's why we've been successful thus far with some of the things that we've done, of that we're not out of the way, but we're out of the way, if you will, right? I think basically what you guys have brought up too, of not bombarding the administration with too many things, and like what Dr. Schuff had said, of being understanding that, no, we'll get to that, but can you give us a minute, you know, because we want to do this, you know, for information and stuff. And I think our board understands that, and has the trust in the superintendent and her administration team, that they're going to do exactly what we're asking them to do. So, and I think it's important to recognize that, you know, I don't know that that's a quality that's shared with all board members in all different school districts. So, and that's, you know, my take on our overall, you know, performance and evaluation. So I'm sure at times over the last few months, people had other opinions, but I think overall, I think we do a very, very good job. So, Dr. Schuff, anything?
No, I would say I appreciate that the board has a vision and has worked to collectively be able to communicate and work together on a vision for the school district. And I also feel the appropriate accountability also that we have to the policies of the board and the collective action of the board. That, you know, we take that accountability seriously. And my assumption here, you know, for summary, is also to say that I think you all, you know, take that responsibility of holding us accountable is important as well. And as you said, at the same time, we all have lanes that we try to stay in, and there's always a gray zone. And I think we work those out, you know, fairly well. So I think that's something we keep, you know, growing, and that's how we bring new board members in the same way. Is, you know, take what's working well and keep getting better at the things that we do better at.
Anything, Suzanne?
No.
No. Jamie?
Good here.
No? Well, I guess that concludes us. Suzanne, if you could, you make a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
And a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Suzanne?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Show that we adjourned at 7:42.